My name's Emil. I'm a digital strategist and I answer marketing questions. Today's question is about what do you do in an account on a weekly, daily, monthly, quarterly basis for bigger accounts and agency work, specifically from Reddit. And I love this question. It's like a what's in your bag question for marketers. Um, the question is from College Quick on Reddit, daily, weekly, monthly, etc. Google Ad Management. Hey guys, been running for ads for local business for 3 years now. Amazing, and running ads for local businesses is really tough. He's done well. He's found that opening in the market, but wants to expand into a bigger clientele and wants to know what that daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly workload actually looks like. I've worked in all levels of accounts with multiple agencies and companies that operate as agencies, and this is my advice and what I'm going to cover in the video. So I'm going to cover Google Ads Management scoping. So why the scoping is so critical in the beginning to set a routine for daily work. How I spend my time in ad accounts, and I'm going to do some varied depending on spend, size, and goals. And then the good or the bad results you get are always next steps. So we're going to cover all this in the video. But first, every Sunday, I send out one email that recaps all the marketing questions I answered that week. If you want to stay up to date on best practices, strategies, and become an overall stronger marketer, I think you would really enjoy this recap. It would mean the world to me if you could subscribe to the newsletter and my YouTube channel. Now, back to the answer. Each account, as you know, is completely different. So accounts in the same space may have different management styles, different resources, different strengths, different weaknesses. So I first take that into account. I want to understand what makes this account different than a like account somewhere else. Once I understand that, I always start in the same place, no matter how big the campaign's going to be. I always start with scoping the work that's needed, and this requires a open dialogue with the client because this is going to really determine my day-to-day operations. So the first thing is I want a specific goal. Lots of people say, I want more sales, I want to increase my ROI, I want to increase my ROAS by X percentage. Those sound specific, but they're not. A specific goal would be a client comes in and say, we've done this, and now we want to increase ROAS by 3%. Great. Do you want to increase ROAS by 3% on a single product or service, on the entire account, to new audiences? Where? And they're normally going to say, well, just overall, we'd like a better return on ad spend. And now the goal is, well, where is your return on ad spend suffering the most? It's not where you're doing well that needs to scale. It's where you're suffering that needs to be cleaned up, optimized, and changed. So getting down to the nitty gritty of the specific goal. I don't want to book more appointments. I want to book more appointments with people of net worth of 250,000 or more. That's a very specific goal. So the first part of the scoping is getting the goal visualized, so we're all on the same page that this is what success looks like. After that, we look at time frames. Well, have you done something similar before? We have. How long did it take? 9 months. Great. That's a great time frame to start looking at for reality. Or they could say ASAP. I need it immediately. This needs to change. It's never going to be the case, unfortunately. So that's where some reality scoping comes into place. Assets audit. This is something that I kick myself in the ass to this date for not doing for a very specific client. Looking at what kind of assets do you currently have, and what do you think is an okay asset, and what do you think is not an okay asset. I've had clients who have a still image from 30 years ago. They think this is a great marketing material. So taking on a Google Ads account, not understanding that the owner of the client has either a great understanding or a weak or mid understanding of what quality content is and what quality assets are, this could really derail a campaign. So I want to know it in and out. And anybody who suffered this pain knows exactly what I'm talking about here. And then, of course, data value. What data do you value, and what data should you value, and what data don't you value, and why? I want to know this. Some people don't care about their analytics. If you work in a local business, so if you told somebody, hey, you've got page on times for a minute and a half from new visitors, that may be irrelevant because they're like, well, I'm not booking new jobs. And now that data isn't important to them, but it is important to you. So differentiating the data you need to report on versus the data you need to make decisions on, and not make them feel like you're not listening to what they're focused on. So once I understand this, then I have a starting point. That starting point is, we do a SWOT analysis: strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. I want to know where we're just kicking ass, where we need some serious work on, where are some unrealized potentialities that haven't been met, and then what are some immediate threats that we need to neutralize. As I understand this, we develop a strategy, the owners of the account, and my team, which is me and my wife. And then we say, hey, here are the budgets, that we're going to need, and they usually come, let's say a bigger budget, let's say 25, 30,000 a week or something like that, that's transitioning, and I would say that's a realistic budget to have going in from local businesses starting to look at medium and larger accounts. Those budgets, as you make those budget jumps, you may look at a company that you've worked with before and say, I've hit these goals with a company and we needed a budget of X. So having that experience plays a big role. And then timelines. We already know the time frame that they want to work in. Now that we've done our SWOT analysis, built a strategy, got okayed on the budgets, and looked at the asset creation needed, now we have realistic timelines. Once that's done, that moves right over to analysis and pivot. So you're going to analyze the first round of work, and you're going to make pivoting decisions on which campaign types, which top, bottom, middle funnel strategies you're going to run, all the platforms you're going to interlink. Like if you're running Google ads, you of course need to be running retargeting ads off platform on something like Facebook or Instagram. So there's a lot of conversations here. And this is the work I do daily, no matter the size of the account when I first pick it up. Search term audit. This is whether I'm using DCAs, exact, phrase match, broad match. I wanna sculpt these search terms because I never trust an existing account's negative keyword list. From there, I want to audit the quality of traffic. This is on-page traffic, search terms, audience segmentation. These things are critical to me, and I want to know how valuable the audience we're bringing in is based on the preliminary data. From there, that audience validation gives me insights to if I need to split campaigns up by age or demographics or CTAs that are working for some audiences but not others. So I want to sculpt audiences as well as keywords and ad copy here. And then the auction. Who am I competing against? Like if I'm competing against the right people, that's great. If Google's putting me in auctions that are people that are adjacent to my business, then I know that I don't. Even though everything else seems right, I may not be competing with the people who are ready to buy or whatever the goal objective of that campaign is. And then I'm always auditing how people are interacting with the website. I love Hotjar for this, and Google Tag Manager, tracking all the relevant events, goals, and triggering the right tracking actions and building the right audience as needed. And after all of this, I'm continuously making changes. My changes might happen every 3 to 5 days. Every day you're adding new negative keywords. Every day you're auditing ad copy. Every day you're looking at creative. If you're running display or YouTube ads, but for YouTube, I want view times of 30% or more. For display, I want a click-through rate of 1% or higher. And these aren't easy metrics to just nail. So you might have constant creative updates in the first period. And during this usually lasts about 45 days, right? So this is a 45 daily exercise. You could spend 1 to 2 hours. And I spend extra time on Fridays and Mondays because I rarely work through the weekend. But I make sure that the way the weekend is set up is that this is just data and the things that are working and things that weren't were paused. After 45 days, we enter what I call the third valley. The third valley to me is the valley where you've just taken over an account, you're following best practices, you've done your due diligence, you've done the work, you've made the changes, you've found all the gaps, you optimized the landing pages, you've changed out all the things that weren't working. And in that third valley, your gut, you got to have that fucking gut, man. You got to be like, look, I'm not touching anything for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, depending on what the data is telling us. And when we're not touching anything, we're just watching. And Google's algorithm needs time. And in my strategy session, I've talked extensively to people, especially if they're coming in with a bigger account that hasn't yielded them results. Well, we're going to go through this third valley and we're going to do it together. We're not going immediately into it. We're going to do the preliminary work we just did across, a month to 2 months, and then we're going to enter this and we're not going to touch nothing. We're just going to let it roll. And as it's rolling, at the end of what we feel is a deemed sufficient amount of time that's passed, we're going to review. And that review is going to give us a decision. Are we happy overall with the direction and the last few weeks of results? Or are we not satisfied? And if we're not satisfied, we just go right back to the beginning and reassess. No campaign especially when you take it over and it's medium or big or larger campaign, has many stakeholders, lots of history, lots of moving dynamics. No campaign is ever going to go, or all your campaigns are going to go 100% correct. So prepping the groundwork to understand why something didn't work throughout this process, this is what we've done. We can go back to the beginning and then redo that SWOT analysis with new data, clean data, the data that's badass that you've collected. Now, if this has worked, if you're close to the goal, then we move into optimization stage. Notice along that entire path, I didn't optimize anything. We don't have any data to optimize, even if it's coming in existing. What we're doing is when you're taking over account, there's really only one reason why you're taking over account. Whoever owns that account was not happy with their previous results. So you're not trying to optimize previous results. You're trying to enhance them. So the optimization stage only happens when the data, everyone is happy. You as the manager are happy. The client is happy. The results look like they're going in the right direction. Everyone's like, yeah, let's keep doing this. And in that optimization stage, this is where tweaks for incremental gains happen, where a percentage point actually matters, where an additional 10 to 20 seconds on the website will move the needle forward, where additional bid optimization will make a big difference in outcomes. But optimization happens after you're satisfied. You can't optimize your way to satisfaction. You can get much better results, but you got to get big, broad strokes to get to those results. And then we have the goal. That goal, like once we hit our goal, we sit down and say, what's the next hurdle we want to cross? Is there a new product, new service offering, new division, new platform? And once we do that, we repeat that entire process over again. And whether the account is in a six-figure account, or the account is a month, or the account is just a few $1,000s a month, this process works every single time. And I've seen agencies that rely heavily on a very similar cycle work, and I've seen individual freelancers that rely on this. The only time I see this broken is if an agency's overloaded and they just don't have the time to dedicate to something like this. An hour to 2 to 3 hours a day in a campaign in the beginning. Some campaign managers say, no, I don't think it needs it. Other people may just not have the time to it. But I urge you strongly to look at this process, because this works really, really well, and it gives us all the data and decision making and courage to move on to the next part, which is really critical. Scaling is that thing that everyone's coming to a PPC management firm and that they want to do. They want to take existing results and get better and better and better and better return on investment. And the only way to do that is through that cycle work of scoping, SWOT analysis, continuous monitoring, and going through that third valley, which is the roughest in my opinion. And along the way, what you're doing is this is what we do, and works again well in any stage of an agency life. Weekly reports with videos. So a weekly report of what we did this week, why we did it, and a video that summarizes it. So some people like videos, some people love written, so you combine those two. Sometimes throughout those reporting stages, there'll be things that you don't need to send to the client because you've already established this is data they don't care about, but you need it to make good decisions. So you're making these custom reports to let them know, hey, this is what's happening that you care about, this is what's happening that we care about, abbreviated, and this is the good and the bad of that. That turns into a monthly report. Those 4 reports you did across the weeks, now you summarize those 4 reports into progress at the end of the month, which I think is absolutely helpful, with a video that summarizes it. And then those quarterly reports, of course, or those monthly reports, of course, equal your quarterly report in the video. And I find that as long as you control the conversation and you make sure that they're not booking a ton of meetings with you, these kind of reports are incredibly worth your time. So if you normally schedule a 45-minute to an hour-long meeting with your client every week, I would say replace it with one of these report building systems. It allows you to document everything. It gives you a great case study material, and best of all, you have special folders for each client, and they could review progress along the way. So many times decisions are made by the gut, even in the biggest accounts. This allows you to look at data and look at how much care and attention you've put into their account. I truly hope this has helped you. Let me know if you have any questions. It would mean the world to me if you could subscribe below. I send a recap every Sunday of all the questions I've answered that week, and it's always good luck and happy marketing.